The only bad part with Jacob not being here is now our, what was that show where everybody looks around at each other back in the day with the tiles?
Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch. Our Brady Bunch screen is going to look different on our panel now, but that's fine. Man, I missed having you on the podcast and those insights that you're bringing. And I've never actually heard somebody say that many words without taking a breath before. That was amazing.
I'm really excited to be on the podcast. I've listened to every episode so far. It's been really great insight to be able to hear how the CEO and president are actually thinking about moving the company forward. You don't always get that.
And just that overall nervousness with having a kid and the merger and not knowing what to expect kind of all was like reigning supreme in my life. But it was smooth. And what I took most from it was the sense of family.
You're listening to Seasoned Leaders, a podcast about leadership, growth, and the power of hospitality. I'm Adam Guy. Today's episode is about people, opportunity, and what growth inside a company really looks like. Let's get into it. Today is going to be a great episode. I am super excited. Jack Dawson is back with us, even though he's not sitting next to me in the studio where I like to have him. He is virtual. He's back on the podcast. Jack, welcome back on.
I was worried you were not considering me a seasoned leader anymore. So I'm happy to be back, just for my own pride, if nothing else.
Even seasoned leaders have seasons. And this past season, as we have been recording this podcast, you have been out and about working with our partners, working with our employees, making sure that all these things that we're talking about here on this podcast are actually happening on the ground. And so you had good reason to leave me all by myself hosting a few of these podcasts, but I'm so glad that you're back and we get to do this together. Today, honestly, is a really special episode, I think, for us because we've talked so much about culture. We've talked so much about, your vision and my vision, our vision, right, for how we're going to build this company. And at the end of the day, those are just words. And the reality is where the rubber meets the road is our employees, right? This hospitality culture that we're trying to create, it only works if our employees are bought in and if we're taking care of them. And we're going to tell some of those stories today. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better myself. I think to be able to hear these stories directly from a few of these people, hopefully that resonates with any future potential employees, with the current team we have out there, with our partners. I couldn't agree more. It's a great way to go about it. So I'm excited as well.
So we've got a panel of guests here that are going to be joining us here later in the podcast, employees of ours that are going to tell their story. But before we get to that, I'd really like to talk with you, Jack, a little bit about just the hospitality culture in general. So if you just take like a broad stroke across this industry, which is a massive industry, right? One of the largest industries in the country is the hospitality industry. When you think about restaurants and catering and food service companies like ourselves, we have such a big job in serving and nourishing and keeping people fed and keeping people going. But it's also a culture that comes from a employment standpoint with a lot of baggage. So, kind of talk me through your view of sort of what the hospitality industry has been in the past and really continues to be currently.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think if I was going to break it down, you can kind of look at it from maybe pre-COVID and then post-COVID world in the hospitality, right? Where I think there were a lot of things that were brought to light. A lot of those kind of negative cultures that in a toxic way, I think in the hospitality industry, a lot of people had a lot of pride in. And then as more and more information comes to light and more people are comfortable speaking up, you see some areas that maybe weren't that way. And I think it has led to further education, further training, further support for all of the people that have worked in hospitality their entire lives. So I think there's been a lot of great things that have come in the last 4 or 5 years, right? People are not afraid or ashamed to call out the stuff that doesn't seem true to what we should be doing. I think it's why I've always been so proud of what we did at College Fresh, which you've done at Upper Crust, what really a lot of people in this industry as a whole are doing for hospitality, offering jobs with balance, with culture, with support. So you've seen a big shift over the last 6-7 years, and I just love the direction we're heading now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I think about the traditional hospitality industry, it's filled with people that are really passionate. Like this is their craft, right? When you think about a chef, there are ways to make more money than to work in hospitality, like period, right? People are not choosing this because it's the highest paid career that they can find. They're choosing this because they love it, right? They love cooking food. They love creating things. They love serving others. And so I think, this may be a little controversial. I don't know, but I feel like at some point there are some operators that are out there that frankly just kind of like take advantage of this passion, right? And they know that they've got this group of captive employees that are so passionate about what they do that there isn't a focus on making sure that we're taking care of those people, making sure that they have a work environment that is really fits the same passion that they have for their craft. And so I think that that's something that I agree with you. Like, I'm really excited about that within this niche industry. We have some really great things that we get to offer the hospitality industry. And in fairness to some of the other parts of hospitality, like, we are blessed in the sense that some of the things we're able to offer are based on the way our niche market is set up. Right. Yeah. So if I'm talking about not having to have chefs work late nights and weekends, that if you own a bar, if you own a restaurant, you don't really have that luxury, right? Because you're going to be open late nights. You're going to be open weekends, right? You're going to be serving the Easter brunch buffet. And those are just things you have to do. But I just love our industry, because our niche industry, our niche part of this hospitality, because we're able to do some of these things. So
I always love an opportunity to say out loud what we want to do, who we want to be as employers, as supporters of all of our internal partners out there, taking care of our external partners on a daily basis, that we want to take care of them. We want to give them that balance. We want to give them opportunities to grow. We want to train and support. We want to give clarity, right? So I just get excited when we have an opportunity like this to hold ourselves accountable to this. We all know, everyone that has worked in this industry knows that it's really easy to say what we want to be. It can become a challenge when the rubber hits the road and you've got to feed 500 students at a lunch, or you've got to do that on 40 different campuses across the country at a given time. That it can become a lot harder to do that. So I would just always love these opportunities to get to say it out loud and go back and kind of measure how we're doing against that. So appreciate the opportunity.
Talked about this before, but when we talk about this out loud, it's an accountability level for our business as well, right? For you and I as leaders, but also for our company to be able to say that out loud. And at the end of the day, it's our people that take care of our partners. And that's one of the reasons why it makes this so important. And so I want to talk a little bit about, some of our thoughts on how we want to take care of our people and what's important to us. And so when you talk about setting those expectations and putting ourselves on the hot seat here, I think it'd be great for you and I to kind of chat a little bit about, what do we want Upper Crust to look like when it comes to how we, treat employees and how we want employees to feel when they work for us. And, one of the first things that comes to mind for me is it's really easy to list a list of perks out on a job ad, right? It's really easy to, work with HR and say, hey, can we find, a pet policy to add to our perk list so that someone that has a miniature Chihuahua named Susie has coverage for that little dog.
Which we did, by the way.
We did that. And if your dog is named Susie, I'm sure it's very cute. But for me, it's more about the consistency than it is the perks, right? It's about being able to, the perks don't mean anything if you can't consistently provide a great working environment. And I think that what I found is that is way more important than just the list that's on the paper. And I'm not saying we don't have to have the list of perks. And we've worked very hard on putting those together. And hopefully later in the podcast, Mel can kind of go through some of those things with us. But what is your thought on that? Just creating a consistent working environment.
Yeah, to your point there, it's got to be both, right? Like, we know we're not going to get great employees if we don't have that, that one pager that says, here's what we can offer. That is a great way to get people interested in looking at the company, right? But what really matters, what keeps the good people on board, is what you just said, the consistency, being there, showing up on a daily basis. I'm going to take a break here for a second too. To your other point on like what matters, and I think this goes back to like how everyone sees things differently. And the way I was kind of brought up doing this is like, when we first started at College Fresh, didn't have any of the sophisticated thought processes behind it. We just said, this is what we're going to do. And we wanted to be so clear about that the people that wanted to do that with us would stay on board and would grow and have opportunities. And the people that didn't, see you later, right? Like, there was no HR, right? Before my sister came on board, there was no HR like we've got here with Mel. Like, it was just, see you later. It's the Wild West we've joked about. And I think it has been really cool coming to Upper Crust and like having some of this professional thought process and like putting some of this stuff in place so that it can be consistent and scalable as we grow. It really boils down to culture, right? We want to
Right.
make that culture so absolutely clear. This is where we're going. Hey, everybody, it's been such an awesome opportunity bringing everybody from college chefs, from campus cooks, from College Fresh into this Upper Crust family. It's a tough thing to do. That's like 4 cultures right there. So what I have been working on, as you said, this whole last year with Mel and the team and yourself is what is the new Upper Crust culture, right? Not that the old one was bad, but it's just different now. We've got another 1,200 employees that came on here in the last year. We've got a lot of different great leaders. It's really cool. I'm excited to see people that are coming from College Chefs, Campus Cooks, and College Fresh all be a part of this. But we've got a lot of people that, again, not wrong, but just have seen things and done things a little differently. So we wanted to work really hard at the start of last year to say, what is this new Upper Crust? What are our values? What is our culture? So that as we set this path forward, kind of going back to what I really said, even when we were doing it in the past kind of unintentionally or not formally, now we're able to say it very intentionally, very formally, this is the direction we're going. Because to change a culture, to set a direction like this, to align a structure in place, to be able to do all this stuff that we're talking about, can take a lot of time. And it's real easy just to say it. Here's what we're doing, like you mentioned, the flashy part of it. Here's all of our benefits. Here's this, here's that. It takes a lot of time to do it the right way, to set it up in place, to be able to deliver on that and to be consistent with it. So I probably rambled on a little too much there, but like that's what I think about when you were talking about those notes, is like that's what matters to me, is that not only can we say it, but then we've actually got the pieces in place to be doing that across the board, 46 different states, all our different partners that we serve. We want to be able to say to them, at any different campus we operate, at any chapter we're operating in, fraternity, sorority, south, west, north, east, this is how it's going to be when you're working with Upper Crust. And that's what really gets me excited.
Man, I missed having you on the podcast and those insights that you're bringing. And I've never actually heard somebody say that many words without taking a breath before. Like, and
well,
what
I do eat up a lot of
passionate
airtime,
you
so
are
you're
about
welcome.
that.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
Thank you.
That was amazing. And talking about your leadership, though, like this isn't just on the podcast. I think that like leadership accessibility is so important. So, talk to me about your approach to leadership accessibility across the company, because that's one of the reasons why, you've been out on the road.
Well, it probably drives you and Mel crazy. I can tend to, like, I've got a joke, like I tend to maybe like react when I hear things, but like if I hear feedback from someone, let's address it. Like, let's dig into it, right? And sometimes people are like, well, okay, no, let's get all the facts. Let's do this and that. Yeah, sure. Great, Mel. Thank you for that. But I always want to, like, as you said, like what really matters to our partners internally and externally is what's happening in these kitchens on a daily basis. And I think it's really cool having the opportunity to visit these people on a regular basis, visit our partners and hear what's actually happening. And it's really cool to see, like, this decision that we made as a leadership group, how has that actually impacted them? How is that impacting our client partners? So this sounds like tooting my own horn a little bit, but I love being there. I love hearing it from the teams. I love the opportunity to kind of solve problems and move things in different directions for our people out there in the field.
Well, I know for sure that it's appreciated by our team, and I think it's so important to be accessible from a leadership standpoint. One thing that comes to mind with me when I think about what we want to do as a company is to set clear expectations. And I think, so many times people think they're being kind, right, by not having a tough conversation with an employee, right, or not setting an expectation because that's awkward. Sometimes those conversations are hard to have. And over the years, I think I've realized that it's actually so much more kind to set the expectations, right, to draw the boundary lines, to tell an employee, hey, this is exactly what success looks like in your position. And so I think, we're really committed to trying to make sure that is one of the pillars of the things that we're interested in.
Yep.
And I think another
clarity
thing that comes to mind,
clarity
is kindness. Exactly.
Yep.
The stability and opportunity, talk about that for just a second.
Yeah. Not without having a ton of experience in other industries, but going back to kind of what we know in hospitality, things can change on a whim. Restaurants can shut down, hotels can go under new management, right? And even in our space, positions can open and then poof, they're gone within a matter of days or minutes. So I think it was always important to us, like if we're making an offer to someone to come on board and help us support our partners, that's real. It's there and that opportunity is not going away. The cool thing about our business is really anybody we hire, whether or not it's any of the people that'll speak today, you and I, Adam, to a chef or an assistant chef, those positions are going to be there. Those opportunities are going to be there if you do good work, right?
Right.
If a chef comes in and does great work for a chapter, they're going to have every opportunity either to continue doing that, if that's their love and that's their passion, to grow into a manager role, a director role, a corporate role, a traveling role. The path forward is entirely set forth by them and the work and the effort and the attitude they bring to their job on a daily basis. If they
Yeah.
don't do good work, we might lose that account. Like we can lose an account on any given day for any given bad decision. Like so it's like it's important for us. You said clarity is kindness earlier. It's important for us to be very upfront on it, that as long as you're doing good work and if this is something you do truly care about and you're passionate about, these opportunities are going to be there. From a company standpoint, for them to know that the foundation is there. Upper Crust, I forget. Shame on me, Adam. What year did you start Upper Crust? Was it 2009?
Yes, 2009.
Okay. So Upper Crust, I think Campus Cooks was way back a little bit before that, before College Fresh had started. Like all these companies had been there. All these practices had been in place to support people to do it the right way. So that foundation is there to support you along your journey. All you got to do is come in and do the good work, and you're going to have every opportunity. So I think that's something that's incredibly unique in the hospitality industry. A
Yeah,
lot of
no
times,
question.
like even a great chef that goes and works as an executive chef at a restaurant, where else are you going to go at that restaurant? There's nothing else you can do. As you're an executive chef, maybe you get another job at another restaurant, or you can move to a big hotel operation. But depending on where your passions lie, maybe those aren't even options. But I think at a company like ours, you can do kind of all of the above, and that's specifically unique in hospitality.
Yeah, I agree with that. The last thing I would say is just this respect for personal life. I think that's really been an important pillar of our success and with our employees is the fact that, most hospitality professionals are working late nights, they're working weekends, right? They're working the Christmas buffet and the Easter buffet. And, they look back and they get burned out from that, right? They want to spend
Yep.
time with their family. They want to spend time with their friends, right? They want to have a life outside of work. And so for us in this business to be able to provide that work-life balance with our positions, I think is something that we're really proud of and really blessed to be able to do within sort of the niche industry that we're in.
It's so rampant in hospitality. The harder you work, the better the employee you are. The longer you work, the better the employee you are. The hours you work, right? And we've all done it, either been a part of it or seen it, like someone that sends an email on a Saturday morning or a Friday night just to show that they're doing it. I've done it myself, right? Or you copy in someone just because you want them to know you're working hard at these late hours. There's 1,000 internet memes about that in corporate culture. It's important to set those boundaries for our team, for our client partners everywhere. It's a really hard thing to do because that is absolutely rampant in the hospitality industry.
So, Jack, are you the type of guy that pre-schedules your emails for weird times so that it looks like you're working?
I've gone hit and miss on that because I've had that where I think I scheduled it for the next morning and then I don't. I've had it where I do that, but then I actually don't connect my computer to the internet, so it doesn't send. So I now kind of have my own little Jack Dawson patented system through my calendar that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Well, I'm going to have your emails under more of a microscope now that I know all these stories. So I think, honestly, at this point, people have heard a lot from you. They've heard a lot from me. I'd really love to bring Mel Meltzer into this conversation with us and allow her to just talk a little bit more about what she's passionate about, which is human resources. So Mel, she's our Senior Director of Human Resources. Mel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So you were able to join our team from the College Chefs acquisition, which was a few years ago. And Mel, you have done such a great job of really creating a legitimate human resources department at Upper Crust. So similar to what Jack described from his early College Fresh days, before Annie took the reins of HR, Upper Crust was kind of in the same position. And even when we did our first major acquisition, we weren't super robust in terms of HR leadership. And so bringing Mel in was really kind of a step in the right direction for that. But kind of take me through those early days, Mel, and as you came on to the company, some of the things that you looked to try to develop and put in place so that we could build the foundation for the employee culture that we hope to have today.
Sure. Well, I came on board at an interesting time. I joined College Chefs about a month prior to our owner passing away. So that was not expected, but I was particularly interested in joining College Chefs because I'm a foodie and I wanted a chance to be the head of HR, and I had been really in middle management and HR in previous jobs, mostly at much larger companies. So I was excited about an opportunity to work for a smaller company, and then I got lucky about becoming part of a bigger opportunity. When I first joined the company, as you mentioned, there was not a lot of structure in place, not a lot of policy, not much of a handbook. I found all those things to be really exciting from an HR standpoint because that meant I got to write the handbook, right? I got to
Now
talk
that
to
you say
leaders
it, though,
about.
it sounds a little scary. I'm glad you found it exciting because I just got nervous as you mentioned it, even though it's years ago.
Well, it was exciting. For me, having an opportunity to be part of, having a blank slate was it's kind of the same level of creativity that we try to give our chefs, right? I I got to write the menu, and even more so for me, having worked for large, very corporate companies in the past, getting to have the opportunity to collaborate with people to build those policies in such a way that really enhance the employee experience and support operations was really fun because I knew the policies would have to be legal and meet those requirements, but also meet the requirements of my new friends and partners that I was joining the company with.
Yeah.
Getting to balance those two things was a really, really fun experience.
So Mel, you built the foundation, right? You came in, you built the foundation for what we have today in terms of a human resources department, and that allowed us then to kind of focus in on three pillars that I really want to discuss with you today. And so when we think about an employee's journey and how we're going to support those employees as part of Upper Crust Food Service, I really kind of break it down to three buckets, and the first being support, the second being opportunity, and the third being the benefits. And so, talk me through a little bit of this support pillar, some of the things like connections and operational support, and the fact that we have some challenges with people that are all over the country, right? How do we connect them together? So kind of talk to me about your philosophy heading HR and what you hope your team is doing to kind of create that support system for our staff.
Well, I mentioned to you the other day that one of the things that I bring in terms of my philosophy to HR is that for me, being an HR professional is about being a friend to other people. And so I try to build that friendship mentality amongst the people who work for me and also amongst the managers who work for us, right? Is all about caring about other people, being a good friend to them means giving them good feedback, being there when things are bad, and providing them whatever support and training that they need to be successful. So even though we're everywhere, we try to make sure that we have enough HR support to bring to each of the management teams across the country. And then we also make sure that we're staffing in such a way that there's enough, manager to employee ratio that it feels connected and that they have access to their leaders and that they know that they can go as far up the hierarchy as they need to make sure that their message is heard. And we spend a lot of our time in the HR department talking to employees, hearing any concerns that they may have, and addressing those as quickly as we can. Our goal is to address concerns within 24 hours.
We've talked about culture quite a bit in other podcasts. We talked about it a little bit here getting started, but that's not worth diddly if we don't have the structure to support it out there. And I think that's something that Mel has worked really well with us on as we bring all these companies together to really benefit our space, our niche space, but also our employees, is making sure that the culture and structure are in direct alignment to be able to ensure that we do bring this culture of support down to everybody that we're working with. So I think that's something that Mel's been integral in.
Yeah, no question. And I think one of the most exciting pillars, this next pillar, is opportunity. So for me as an entrepreneur, I probably zone in on this more than some of the others, frankly. But Mel, can you talk to us a little bit just about, the role that HR plays in building opportunity for growth, right? Mobility, new roles, sort of like that pipeline or that trajectory that an employee could take in terms of journey within UCFS.
Yeah, we have been really careful about building a pipeline, a career growth pipeline that is accessible to employees and that gives them steps that are close enough together that making a jump to the next move is possible. In addition to that, we've tried to build training such that somebody can go from line cook to sous chef to head chef to campus manager to regional manager without having any kind of major meltdown, feeling really ready for their next role, feeling like they can get to that next role and be successful, knowing that they have all the tools and resources that they need to get there and that it's possible to get there. And that's been a result of the growth and the structure that we've put in place. So I think both things have really lended themselves to building a really, really clear pipeline where there's not huge gaps between each step of the career ladder. And we know that on the ground, somebody can go, and we've seen them go from kitchen assistant to chef to campus manager, regional director. I mean, it's pretty cool that on the executive level and on the director level, a lot of people are formerly chefs.
Yeah, they work their way up. And as a business owner, I would say that there's a lot of things that give you pride as a business owner when you look at your business. And we've talked about this before, but your business kind of feels like it's part of your family, like it's one of your children, if you will. But for me, when I think about some of the pride that wells up in me, when I hear the stories of someone who has successfully been onboarded into Upper Crust in a particular position, and then over the course of time, they have elevated themselves and found a way to work hard and take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of them. And now all of a sudden, they look up and their life looks very, very different. I had a really great experience with one of our regional directors about 6 months ago, and she came to a meeting and she grabbed me at dinner and she said, "Hey, I just got to tell you something." She's like, "I just want you to know that while I've been employed in this job, I've been able to buy my first house, right? I have had my first child, right? And none of these things would have been possible had it not been for the trajectory of my career, because I didn't feel financially stable to do those things prior to having a company that had that stability." And so those kind of stories are ones that really resonate with me and make me proud, right, as a business owner. And I'm sure, Jack, you have moments and stories like that throughout your time as well.
Been seeing kind of all angles of this, and bear with me for a second while I kind of talk around it. It's like seeing the situations where someone gets promoted up just because they were there, and maybe ends up not being an ideal fit in that position. But seeing these other ones like you guys are talking about, where they were promoted not just because they were there, but because they were doing really great work. And those are the ones that like really resonate with us. Those are the ones we want to continue to see. We want the people that have been with the company or one of the legacy companies that have been with a partner for a long time, but have opportunities to keep growing because of the quality of the work they're doing, not just a setting where maybe how I would have operated a long time ago, where I was bringing someone up just because they were there and I could kind of count on them at certain roles. But like there's the whole Peter principle conversation. But hey, these opportunities are going to continue to be there because of the work you're doing and the quality of work you're doing for our partners internally and externally.
The final pillar here that we talk about a lot is benefits. And that is the one that we kind of talked about earlier, that, you can't, that is something you have to have, right? These other things we're talking about, I think, are more tangible in terms of, ways that Upper Crust reacts and creates an environment or a culture. But committing to a benefit structure is a cultural piece, right? That is a foundation to be able to say tangibly, hey, we care about you and we want to make sure that there are benefits that make your life better by working for Upper Crust. And so can you kind of walk us through a little bit when it comes to, like, let's just take a head chef, right? So you're a head chef, you're wanting to come to work you're thinking about coming to work for Upper Crust Food Service. what sort of are the benefits that are out there for someone in that position?
Well, in addition to the things that are not so tangible benefits, like the ability to make your own menu and build that, which I don't think you really have that opportunity in the rest of restaurant culture. Another huge benefit, of course, is that we're off for many periods of the year. And during those times, our chefs have the opportunity to choose to use their paid break time as they see fit. So it's basically Christmas time, spring break, and Thanksgiving. So lots and lots of breaks to be with your family and to still have an opportunity to be paid. So we're super excited about that for them. In addition to that, there is some traditional benefits, medical, dental, vision, of course. But
Pet
one of the things
insurance.
that, yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that has made me happy since coming on board with you, Adam, is that you've been open to letting us have a huge variety of benefits to let people choose what they want. So, I mean, I don't want to list them off because there's so many, but life insurance, accidental insurance, pet insurance, short-term disability, long-term disability, lots and lots of options for people to choose how they want to be covered and what they want to gamble on. And that's been great to just, make sure that everybody has whatever they need in terms of coverage. And then, of course, there's the financial stability, making sure that they all have access to our 401k and a match. And that's really cool. I don't think you get that in many parts of the hospitality industry. And then, probably the most important one is getting paid. We've been really, really diligent about making sure that our pay is the top part of the market. We evaluate the market every year and we make sure that we're keeping up with annual raises so that people are, you know, a decent wage working here and that they also still have all of that flexibility, all of that creativity, and all of that significant time off.
And wanting to be careful of not like making this turn into a commercial for the benefits that we offer. One thing I was always proud of that we had done and HR had done at College Fresh was kind of putting a comp strategy behind what we were doing and saying that we wanted to be in the top 25% of what positions would be paid anywhere else in the hospitality industry. And that was something we stuck to, something we were proud of, something we could sell, right? And I remember that being an early conversation you and I had, Adam, when we were talking about partnering together, that was something important and you were always open to that. And we've continued that on. One other just cool little thing that I've liked, Mel, with the Upper Crust benefits is I was always really proud of the benefits we offered at College Fresh too. There was an HSA plan that we had done when I was young and just a dumb, ignorant 24-year-old guy. It didn't really make sense to me but once I got it figured out, it was okay. It was really great. We've got that in place, but you could kind of choose how you want to do that at Upper Crust, right? Could be an HSA. It could be done kind of the other direction. I don't even know what those terms are. I'm so bad at that kind of stuff. But I do like that it's kind of a choose your own path forward. That's something, again, I'm very proud of. Having those conversations with all of the College Fresh employees as we were coming through, it took some time, right? Because it was different. But just that's my little quick pitch commercial for what we're doing now.
Well, and I think that, you're right, what you just said, Jack, which is that, the goal of the podcast is not to be a commercial for what we do. It's to talk about building this business, right? And the things that we've had to do to build the business. And I think that as we talk about these things that are differentiating us and decisions that we've made, these are market choices that we've made to try to be the best employer in our niche market. And I think that, like, the one thing I keep coming back to is that these are just words, right? As we say these, we risk having them just be words. And really, like we said earlier, where the rubber meets the road is how do the employees actually feel? Are the employees actually impacted? Are we seeing a higher level of retention? Are we seeing employees that are engaged in a way that they're taking care of our customers and our partners at a higher level? And that is the ultimate goal, right? That we're seeing that, and we're seeing that growth and trajectory. So for you and I, as the leaders of this company, Jack, what is our responsibility here to make sure that this is not just words?
Have you guys ever heard the Richard Branson with what's his company? Is it Virgin? The Virgin Empire? He always talked about take care of your people first, prioritize your people, and then they will take care of the partners. I think I kind of grew up in the industry like, I want to take care of our partners, and I'm going to bring along the people that do that. And like over time have realized that you're saying the exact same thing. So to answer your question, I think the answer, like what really matters in both of those outlooks is I think it's our responsibility to take care of the people that take care of our partners, the ones that do it really well, that care about what we do, that truly feel this level of hospitality, that want to do good work, that make me proud, that make you proud, that make the team proud when we go into these kitchens and we see what we're doing, to give them those opportunities. And frankly, let the ones who don't, they can go find something else. But I think it's our job to support those people and to support our team that needs to support those people. That's the simplest way I think I could say it.
I agree completely. That's very, very well said. And speaking of the people, we have some amazing guests that are going to join us here. And this is the first time that we've done a panel discussion on the Seasoned Leaders podcast. So we'd like to welcome now onto the podcast 3 of our employees. What's really neat about the story here is that all 3 of these employees, Jack, came from different legacy companies that have been part of an acquisition that rolled into Upper Crust Food Service. So we're going to be able to talk to them a little bit about their experience, right, through the acquisition process and what it's looked like as they've become part of the Upper Crust culture. So today we're really excited because we're actually going to get to hear from 3 of our employees. All 3 of these employees came from different legacy companies and were part of an acquisition. And so now they are Upper Crust employees. And so, Jack, we're going to get to talk to them about their story. We're going to get to hear kind of about their journey and what it's meant to become part of Upper Crust Food Service and how that's impacted their careers and their lives. So I'm really excited to do this. We have Trisha, we have Jacob, we have Darnell. Guys, we're really excited to have you on the podcast today. And Jacob, I'm going to pick on you first, if that's all right. So tell us a little bit about your story, how you kind of came into the industry and what has happened in the interim.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. First of all, really excited to be on the podcast. I've listened to every episode so far. It's been really great insight to be able to hear how the CEO and president are actually thinking about moving the company forward. You don't always get that.
Jack,
there's a lie detector test at the end of this, Jacob. We're going to find out if you really have listened to it all or not.
Well, it's kind of like HR training. We're going to do a quiz at the end, and if he answers all the questions right, then we know he's right. But
that's right.
I will tell you, Jacob, we're always excited when someone says they listen because we thought we were going to have our moms both listen, and we knew we'd always have 2, but now we have 3 subscribers officially that have told us
3 confirmed
the podcast.
That's right.
3 confirmed. So sorry, Jacob, go ahead.
Yeah. So I am 20 years in the culinary industry. Spent my time kind of plodding around restaurants through my late teens and through my 20s. I was working at a smokehouse and happened to have the privilege of having a wonderful employee for the summer who was on his break from his Greek food service. He came in and he was awesome. He instantly started telling me about the opportunities, essentially, and telling me about his job. I realized right away, hey, I got to get myself in there. I got to give that a try. So he left me for the summer. It was very sad, and I had to go back to plugging away without him. Within a couple of weeks, though, he let me know that there was an opening for a sous chef position. So I applied for that. I got the job, and that was really the start of a turning point in my life that I can't even begin to count the blessings that have come from that. So forever thankful to him. But yeah, from there, I have managed to sit in about every position that you could imagine in this industry. So I've had my time as sous chef, head chef, traveling chef, regional manager. And then most recently, I have been in training for the last few years.
And so that's really a story of growth, Jacob. You know, you had a lot of growth, and I'm sure whenever the news of the acquisition hit, I'm sure that there were, a few nerves about, okay, I've come into this industry. I like it a lot. I wanted this to be my permanent home. I've made some progress. I've grown. What's going to happen now? Right? We've got this new company that bought us. And so kind of take us back to that time when the acquisition occurred and what was kind of going through your mind and then what was the outcome out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. In my head, I had just made it. I'd had my training position coming up on maybe 6 months. So with this news of the acquisition, I really had no idea what that was going to mean for me. I knew training at Campus Cooks, but I didn't know how Upper Crust was going to feel about training, how they were going to feel like they needed to deploy training, or if they already had training, if they were even going to need me at all. So we had an opportunity to all meet up when we were in Illinois. And when I was there was actually the first time that I met Mel. Instantly realized that she had a huge passion for training. So that kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable. We had an opportunity to talk. And after we were done with that conference in Illinois, Mel messaged me the next day. And that instantly started to kind of settle my nerves. I said, okay, there's something going on here. The part about that was a little bit nerve-wracking was that under campus cooks, training was a function of operations. Mel was talking to me about potentially training becoming a function of HR. So I didn't really know what that meant. I'm a chef at heart, so HR is kind of just a scary word to me when I first heard it then.
It scares us all, Jacob. You're not the only one.
But it's been so rewarding. It's kind of had a slightly different focus. I've been able to get different perspective from Mel and from the other people on the HR team about how to approach training, how to work with people. You know, training is really about supporting the people that are around you, giving them the tools that they need to help themselves develop, to make sure that they're comfortable in what they're doing.
Trisha, I'm excited to chat with you because, you know, you have even a different journey, right, than we just heard from Jacob. So can you tell us just a little bit about your story kind of leading up to the Upper Crust acquisition of the company that you worked for? And then we can talk a little bit about what it's looked like afterwards.
Well, I was with College Fresh for close to about 4 years and leading up to the merge with the Upper Crust team. I was accounts payable specialist there. So once we came over I was in Champaign. So I was lucky to be in the Champaign office there with Upper Crust as well, with the AP team. And from the get-go, it was just everybody was really warm and welcoming and like wanting to ask a lot of questions about our processes and how we did things to kind of see how it would align with what Upper Crust was doing and just see if there were open to changes to make there. And it was just really great from the get-go. And yeah, so the team was just very welcoming to us. And I just remember Adam and Jack in our first meetings, just kind of keep an open mind, a positive mindset. And I just really saw the benefit of that firsthand since I joined the team.
There was kind of a moment in time there where, something kind of shifted for you around sort of the flexibility around your job. And I think like that's a moment when we talk about like we show up, right? We show up doesn't only mean we show up for our partners. It doesn't mean employees only showing up for the partners. When we say that motto, we mean that internally as well. And so like, how does Upper Crust show up for our employees when they have, things that change in their life, right? Or things that, that they need our flexibility with. And so can you kind of tell a little bit about the story that you were telling me about with the flexibility of the job?
So once I got to the Champaign office, I got pretty comfy and found my spot there. And then personally, we were faced with another transition in my life. My husband took a job out of state. And just as I was learning all the ropes there with AP team, I came to management and said, hey, look, I don't know how this is going to go, but we're moving out of state now. So I won't be able to be here in the office. And almost immediately they said, we're going to work with you. We're going to make this happen. We see what you're doing so far and we want you to still be a part of the team. And I just was so excited to hear that immediately. I was like, take a minute if you need to, to see how this is going to work for you guys. And so they worked with me through the whole process of relocating to out of state. I'm remote now and I still feel fully connected to my team. And even since then, I was given a growth opportunity to move from AP to the accounts receivable billing sides. I've, managed to move into a better role as billing manager, and I'm learning that and excited about that process. And I've received nothing but full support from management and team members. So it's been great. And I tell a lot of people how fantastic it is that the flexibility to work with me with a move like that. And it was just really reassuring at the time to me and my family, just to know that that was okay. I was going to be fine and I could still continue to grow and learn with the team. So
I'm really glad. I'm really proud of our team for showing up in a time like that for you and to being able to identify. I think from our standpoint, it's having management that can identify people that are making an impact within our company and making sure that we find a way to make it work for them, regardless of what the circumstances are. So Trisha, thanks for all your hard work and everything that you're doing for us in the finance department to make sure that things continue to run smoothly behind the scenes for Upper Crust.
Even though I didn't hire or train or have anything to do with Trisha coming on board at College Fresh. Do I get to take any credit for her on this call since she was College Fresh legacy?
Well, I don't know why you didn't take any credit. First of all, you didn't have to tell that story, and you could have just taken all the
shoot, never mind. I'm just Trisha. You're one of the ones we're thankful for, and so happy to see this transition work out for you, and just glad you're still on the team and still taking care of business. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
So now let's move on to last but certainly not least. We want to get into one of our culinary professionals out in the field, taking care of our partners every single day. Darnell Jones, welcome onto the podcast today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to chat with you. And speaking of Jack taking credit, when we acquired College Chefs was when Upper Crust sort of acquired your services. And that's an important thing to note, I think, is that we do view it that way. When you buy a business, a lot of people think, oh, all I'm buying is the business itself. I'm buying the accounts and the revenue. The reality is you're actually acquiring wonderful talent, right? And so when we look at these different businesses, we do look at what is the talent, right? Is the talent that we're going to be bringing on going to increase the quality of our company, or are we going to have work to do? And so in your case, Darnell, you were somebody that was coming on that we were really excited to bring on to our team. But Jack wants to take credit because you previously worked for College Fresh.
I did.
Before you worked for College Chefs. So that's a lot of C's, but Jack, there you go. Some more credit for you on today's podcast.
I think I have to take credit and blame on this one, and I'll let Darnell certainly do most of the talking here. But we had a one-off partnership on a campus where that was the only partner we were serving. We were fortunate to find Darnell, and at this account, I think this was the first of just a very few partners over a long period of time that College Fresh had to drop, just because the partner that we were working with did not align in terms of culture or professional expectations, et cetera. It was just a really tough decision that I think Darnell at the time understood and supported, but it just meant that we were no longer able to work together just because there wasn't any business left to have. So just one of those unfortunate situations. But then when we, Adam, you and I partnered together and College Fresh came on board the Upper Crust team, it was seeing Darnell's name there and just seeing how he grew. It was just one of those really cool bright spots, and I'm just so happy to see his face here today and see what he's doing for the team. So thanks, Darnell, and great to see you. Now I'll shut.
I mean, even during that transition, I mean, you're more than accommodating and trying to find a spot for me elsewhere, and just that sense of family and that you cared really kind of stuck with me. So that kind of led to the COVID thing and me taking a break away from the industry in general. And when I came back, it was College Chefs. So we worked with College Chefs for a while, and I had a son on the way at the same time as the merger. So it was change again. I'm like, sitting over, I remember getting a call from the regional manager, like, hey, stuff's about to change. We're about to merge. So I pulled over and talked to him for a bit, and just that overall nervousness with having a kid and the merger and not knowing what to expect kind of all was like reigning supreme in my life. But it was smooth. And what I took most from it was the sense of family. I feel that Upper Crust brought us, we started reaching out to our other chefs on campus. We had like 4 other houses. So now it wasn't just me in the house. It was me. And then, we had another campus over here. Another house over here, another house over there. And we all kind of like pulled from each other, got ideas from each other and worked with each other. I kind of had this thing where I thought if management was around and involved, it was for, bad things or because you were in trouble. But it wasn't that at all. It was just support. And, just that bridging the gap and bringing family into it, letting you know where you're strong at and, where you could, use some help at. It was just overall great transition and experience, which led me to this position here.
And Adam, you talked earlier about people that grew within the organization, and we talked about doing it because they're doing really great work, not just because they're there. And Darnell's a perfect example of that. Taken over, at least from an area where College Fresh in a part of the country never had a great stronghold, never did a lot of like great work. We just never really blossomed. And just hearing the stories from our partners that we're working with about the level of care and commitment to kind of our culture and what we're trying to do, it's just been really cool. So again, shout out to Darnell for what you're bringing to the table. Great example of what you talked about earlier, Adam.
Yeah. And I think the thing that resonates to me with Darnell's story is like, just the fear was real, right? This idea of like, wait, I'm getting ready to have a kid. This job is really important to me. Plus I like what I do. But on top of that, I've got this huge life moment that's going to be changing, right? There's already stress and stuff around that. Now I find out my employer is going to be changing. I don't know what the future is going to look like. And Darnell, what I'm so proud of in you is the fact that you just like, you stuck right with it. You just continued to do a good job, right? You continued to show up. You continued to put out great food. And the result of that was not only that you get to keep your job, right? Post acquisition, but you actually get to get promoted, right? And you get to
Definitely.
have additional opportunities that like Jack said, weren't available to you previously because there wasn't the density or the scale in that area. And post acquisition, that density and scale existed. And so if I could put together a poster child for, what I wanted to see happen to employees that work for us, I think that, you would be right there on it.
I appreciate that. And just the support from the team made that possible. Like I was saying before, just, having our regionals at the time check in and conversate opened up me being able to say, hey, look, I feel like we reached points in this house. Can I start that over? My bad. I don't know.
Go for it.
Okay. So I feel like, just with the change and the closeness with management, and I felt more available to speak with them about possible further opportunities and where they see me, which didn't really seem like a thing beforehand because I was just so used to being in the house and a chef. So with the management support, I was able to talk to Kim, was my regional, about just what things look like post being in the house, and if she thought I was able or had the tools to be able to succeed, in a different level. And she kind of coached me through it for a semester. We got through that semester, and the next semester I came in as a regional, and it's been, great ever since. We still have that family bond and team spirit, which I try to carry over to, the people who I work with on the daily, just to kind of grow those same kind of things in them, or just let them know the opportunities are out there and how to get them. So like you were saying, just, keep your head down, do good work, show up and do your best, show up for your clients, and sky's the limit.
Well, we really appreciate you being on today and sharing your story. And I am all jacked up right now. No pun intended, Jack, but like
That's my
honestly,
line.
listen, these stories, they fill my cup, like they fill me up because like we've talked about this before. Like this is the culture that we're trying to build. And this business is not just about profit, right? We talked about this earlier. It's the intersection of purpose and profit. This goes so much to show like what our purpose is about, right? We're about developing people. We're about creating an environment where they can thrive and where they can see a career and where they can grow their families and where they can have a work family. And it just is so, it's so great to hear these stories. And the reality is, we realize we don't get it right every time, right? There's certainly mistakes that we make, and we're still trying to get better at this. But to have the foundation that Mel built within the HR department for employees to thrive, to have leaders like you, Jack, that are reiterating this every day, it keeps me motivated as the CEO of this business to continue to grow, because every opportunity we have to grow is not just for growth's sake. This is not chasing revenue. We're not just taking on new accounts because we want to be the biggest. We're taking on new accounts and we're growing because we want to be the best, right? And we want to give the best opportunities to our employees. And so, man, episodes like this and hearing these stories, I could do this all day long.
So when you talk about hospitality, and that was the overall theme coming in, and like, what are we trying to do in this space? There's opportunity for so much negativity out there. So these kind of conversations where we get to just focus on and relish in the positives and what these team members are doing for us and for our partners out there, we should take more opportunities like this to do so. Couldn't agree more, and just appreciative for the team of being on here today and sharing some of it.
And a question I ask a lot at the end of each of these podcasts when we talk about these different ways that we're building this business and our philosophy on it is, why does it matter? Right? I mean, it's a lot of work to take care of employees. It just is. I mean, it's a lot of work to put all these different programs in place to make sure that they're going well, to make sure that we're, operating at the top of our game and giving the opportunities that we should. And so, Mel, I would just ask you, like, what do these stories represent to you? Like, why do these stories matter from an HR professional?
Well, I decided to become an HR professional because I really wanted to build the best workplace for people. 8 hours of your day is a third of your life. And so I thought my previous career was in nonprofit management. So I'm a purpose-driven person as well. And I really wanted to find an impact on the world that was positive. And for me, being in this industry and working with you, has given me an opportunity to really have that impact on other people. And hearing these stories as well really shows that the consequences of my intentions are working out. So yeah, it's to be a place where people can feel safe, where people can thrive, where people can grow, where people can have family, and where they have a world that's positive, that builds them into the best of who they can be and where they can bring their best selves to work. I think that's really what we intend to do and hopefully continue to do. And that's what I'm passionate about. So that's what it means to me.
Mel, we really appreciate you, all the work you're doing, and appreciate you being on the podcast today. Jack, put a bow on this for us. Why is all this important?
It's important to me, going back to maybe our first episode, because I think I was raised wanting to do good work by people who wanted to do good work. And that's maybe I'm just stubborn or whatever. I want to do good work. I want to be proud when we go into the operations. I want to be proud of our teams. I want to be proud of the product we're putting out. So that's why it's important to me. There's probably 1,000 or million different reasons why this is important to so many others. I think it may be a safe summary to say is like, we want to do good. We want to be good. And that's why this conversation is important.
And at the end of it all, we want to take care of our people because our people are taking care of our partners. And I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. And I'm just really looking forward to continuing this journey, Jack, because we've made a lot of progress, but we're not where we want to be yet, right? We want to continually be improving. And so looking forward to continuing the future of having HR be a big part of the success of Upper Crust Food Service. Thanks for listening to this episode of Seasoned Leaders. As we wrap season 1, we want to say thank you to everyone who has listened, supported the podcast, and followed along on this journey with us. We're already looking forward to what's ahead in season 2 and the conversations still to come. Until next time, thanks for listening and stay seasoned.